let's move on to the part that Ale has been waiting patiently 22 minutes for. Let's talk some CONMEBOL, Ale. Not even probably, I'm going to say, in my opinion, it is the toughest conference in international football. You would know that all too well, but right now Venezuela seems to be having a good run there. But Ale, give us your predictions now. I know it's early, but your predictions of the qualifying final standings. Who's going to the World Cup?
Well, first and foremost, we are very early on in the process, and I love me some Venezuela being in the fight, and the fact that in the current standings we're actually fourth. I'm gonna say everybody's got to calm down. We're gonna have to figure out a way to make this work over the course of the next 2.5 years in World Cup qualifiers. That's how long it's still yet to go in CONMEBOL. Venezuela will do just enough, and I'll take that right now. If you tell me Venezuela finishes 6th right now, I am taking it, and I don't complain at all whatsoever. It would be the first time that my country makes it into the World Cup, and there'll be many and many times in which you'll hear me say, "Vamos Venezuela!" Aside from that, we go sort of, let's move away from Venezuela, because I know people get tired of the conversation and the jersey and so on and so forth. But you'll hear it. If Venezuela qualifies, you're gonna continue to hear this. I think what is happening right now is that Bolivia is a team that is struggling, has struggled, and will continue to struggle. So they have their difficulties. They're out of the picture. Paraguay got a big result against Bolivia, and so they give themselves some sort of life, but I don't sense over the course of the long qualifying process that they'll have enough. I think they're out. As to what happens in regards to who gets into the playoff spot and who's out and who stays and who goes, it's really going to come down to Peru and Chile, I believe, for that playoff spot. Now, Peru, I think they have talent, but it's aging talent. Chile, well, a whole lot more of that. They're both in transition. They are both trying to figure out who they are, and they can't quite come up with an answer just yet. And that's why teams like Venezuela are taking advantage of Chile's struggles, Peru's struggles. Hey, guess what? We'll get a point here in Brazil, and then we'll beat Chile at home, which is I think it's a key result for Venezuela, because those are direct rivals. So that's why Venezuela is as high as they are. As to what happens in the top, Argentina, I think, will run away with this World Cup qualifying cycle. Brazil, interesting enough, Brazil has some issues, and we don't know about the severity of the injury for Neymar, but people are talking about a potential ACL tear and an ACL injury, and if indeed that's the case, then Fernando Diniz is going to have to come up with answers as to what they do in the attack. This is a team that did not have a shot on target yesterday against Uruguay. Uruguay will qualify as well, because there's an element of toughness to this team and an element of talent and fight that they have. They have a good combination of fight and talent. Guys like Fede Valverde, Ronald Araujo, Darwin Nunes, who's scoring goals. And then there is, I think, a combination that through the course of qualifier is useful in South America, and it works. It's a formula that we're going to fight when we need to fight, but when there needs to be talent on this full display, we have those players too. So they'll do enough, certainly, to be, I think, among the top 3 in qualification process in South America. And then it gets to Ecuador and Colombia, who yesterday they tied 0-0. And I think that's how their qualifying process is going to be. Against direct competition, it's probably going to be draws and points here and there. But again, against lesser competition like Paraguay, Bolivia, potentially Peru, they're going to win those games, and they'll do enough to climb up into the 4th and 5th position. And then, as I said, Venezuela hands on to the 6th and final direct World Cup qualifying position. And I'll be partying just as Venezuela will be as well. And what a moment that will be. That's what I'm seeing right now. It's really early. Everybody's got to come down to Venezuela. We got to show some humility. We got to show some discipline. We got to show some personality and character, because there's still a lot of work to do. But I'm really excited for the position that Venezuela is right now. We're in the fight. That's all we want. We're in the fight. And I think we're going to be there until the end.
Now, Ale, I hope you just allow me a little second first to just get emotional here, because I remember back in 1998, I was a little girl. One of the best days of my life I will never forget is when the Reggae Boys qualified for the World Cup, our first and only World Cup for the boys. The girls have been twice, and just the other day when the girls got out of the group, that was Probably that's the only thing that I think surpassed that day that I saw Jamaica qualify for the 98 World Cup. And it meant everything. For me, it's what got me fully into football. And look at where we are today. For you and Venezuela, and just all of the difficulties that we know the country has gone through and is still going through, what would this mean? Because I still think it's quite surprising to hear Venezuela's never been to a World Cup, because you have blessed us with some really great players. You have been there, you have flirted with it, but what would a World Cup berth mean for Venezuela?
Oh, well, that's a deep emotional question.
Let's get in our feels, Alex.
Yes, and then all you have to do is see the environment yesterday at the stadium in the game against Chile in Maturin, and how the people are living through this national team. And obviously for me, having been a national team player, it takes me back to those moments in which we were so close, we were right there, and we couldn't come up with the answers because, quite frankly, the moment was too big for us. We hadn't been there before. We didn't know what that felt like. We didn't know what that pressure was going to be like. And we simply could not respond. We could not answer the question when the question was asked, and came up short in moments that truly matter. To see then that the people have now gathered that same momentum and that same experience and that same energy that we felt perhaps when it was the 2011 Copa America, when we made it all the way to the semifinals. That sort of energy was, you could sense it and feel it as a player, and you can't put a number on it. There is no contract in the world that pays you enough to feel that sort of emotion, that sort of love, and that sort of support. Well, that's where the Venezuelan national team is right now, because the people need an outlet. The people need something positive, something to hang on to, and the Venezuelan national team represents that for our people. So them going to Brazil and getting a result, it elevates the feeling of the people in our country. Them getting a result against Chile at home and being able to back up the result against Brazil, now those feelings and that energy and that love and that support, all of that gets elevated again, and now it gets multiplied exponentially. Mm-hmm. And this is when I have to say, we all got to calm down a bit, people. We got to calm down. We got to calm down, because it's a long process. So the coaching at this point is going to be really critical, to be able to allow the team to celebrate for a little while, and then, hey, let's calm down. Let's come back to zero. Let's make sure that we understand what makes us successful and what makes us a good team. The people are going to get excited, but don't get crazy. You focus on what happens on the field, and you focus on the next game, and you focus on doing your job and doing it well. And that will propel you forward, because look at what's around us. The teams around us are struggling. Be consistent. While they struggle, we're consistent. We'll get enough points. And that would be my message to the team. But I cannot have that message with the people, because I'm with the people now. I'm not in the locker room anymore. And I can sense it. I can feel it. I talk to my dad, and my dad is he's already coming to the World Cup, apparently. He's already telling himself that, yeah, the World Cup is happening. And we all just have to take a step back. It's hard to do, but right now we're excited. Let's just say that. And for me as a former national team player, it's a sense of pride to see where we were, what we became, what we have become, and potentially what we will be if this World Cup qualifying cycle goes the way that we want it.
Yeah, and I think we'll be crossing our fingers, everything for La Vino Tinto for this one, because knowing just the complete diaspora of Venezolanos in the USA, it feels like it's written in the stars already, Ale. I don't want to say anything. Also, for us in Jamaica, again, considering I don't have to worry about USA, Canada, or Mexico, we better both be on that plane there, and then we can have jerk chicken arepas all through this World Cup. Perfect. Well, pleasure as always. Ale Moreno, I'm Alexis Nunes. Thanks to everyone for watching. That pretty much wraps this edition of ESPN FC Live. Like I said, we're on 3 times a week.